shared a couple of times in the group and on of course, my personal profile right there. And today I'm going to be talking to you about a very simple topic called Why I Have Hope. And this is something I actually have to talk to myself, a little bit of self-talk with myself every now and then, because of the amount of news that we are bombarded with. And this is going to apply to the personal side and the business side. I often talk about topics on both sides of the fence, not really a fence, if you will, but just kind of both sides of the road here. A fence implies that there's a divide between them. And this is something that also you need to hear if you're a person who spends a lot of time on social media, and if you're a person who spends a lot of time on news websites. I'm sure you've learned that when you spend a lot of time on social media or on news websites, you are going to have friends who share stories of negative things all the time. I mean, it's just things dramatically affect us in the news, whether it's presidential news, whether it's border news, whether it's business news, whether it's things in your city going bad. These things affect us and can really obviously affect our mental state, and the mental state then leads into psychological issues and physiological issues. And after a while, thanks for whoever gave me the like. I can't even see that who it is right there. If you are listening, by the way, please make sure if you're watching us live, if you're watching the video, please leave a comment below as to as to your listening, where you're listening from. But again, getting back to the news that we read, the things we see on social media, these things can really drag you down, and not just lightly drag you down, like, oh, that's bad news. I really don't want to hear that. There are people whose mental states are affected by what they are fed. And oftentimes by what they are fed comes from things that are completely out of their control. And we obviously have control over who we listen to, who we socialize with, to a point who we work with, but oftentimes if we're on social media or if the TV's on or even in some situations, oftentimes people come to us and they feed us information, and that affects us, and that puts us in a mood. It can put us in a mood of depression. In some extreme cases, it can make people, suicidal. It can make people lose hope in their fellow man, and it can make people lose hope in their country. We all know just the various ranges at which people complain and they bring on the doom and gloom in life. We just see it all the time. The negativity is absolutely overwhelming in our lives. I see this a lot in business, people that come to us for business coaching, and there's sometimes things are just really bad, or when they want to help them with marketing, they just think things are overwhelmingly bad. And yes, that's the general feeling in life, is it's just things overall are bad. And through this, over time I've transitioned, and it's been a slow transition. I've learned to transition to someone who takes a lot of control over what is fed to my brain. And that is because I am the kind of person, I have decided I am the kind of person that wants hope. And I want you to hopefully transition to this kind of person. And I don't mean hope by filter out all the bad news. I mean taking on the mindset that no matter what bad news comes my way, it could be horrible, it could be bad trade crashes across the country, it could be war, it could be famine, it could be our leader of our country saying some of the stupidest shit you will ever hear, that no matter what these things are that come my way, I will always believe that I personally and my friends and my family and my business partners, that we are doing good things and that the future is bright for all of us. And I think I picked this up. I used to find this kind of attitude annoying, to tell you the truth. There used to be a gentleman I worked with at the three-letter Big Blue company. I think his name was Ken Davis, and for those of you that know my history, correct me if I'm wrong. Ken Davis was a really annoying, pain-in-the-ass person, and I think the reason I found him so annoying is because he was always in a good mood. At that time, I was a lowly techie at IBM, and Ken, no matter what bad things had gone on in IT world or in life, Ken was just always found a positive spin on it. And when I was in that mood of being negative all the time, I found that annoying. I found that someone who could find the bright side of things, or the sunny side, or the pan, or whatever you want to call it, I always found that really annoying. It took me a long time to get to that point where I could always see the bright side of things. And now I realize why he was so annoying. He was so annoying because he went against that ditch and that groove that I was in of negativity. And I saw somebody the other day use a very good reference, or a very good example of what this is. Have you ever heard the example about crabs in a bucket? And I was one of those crabs in the bucket, meaning I was someone who's down in the crapper, and I was at the bottom of the bucket, and I liked being there. And if anybody tried to get out, I was that other crab. I was crawling on their back, I was pulling them back down. And at the same time, if I was the kind of person that was, ever had like a little bit of a motivation, that I was pulled down by the people around me, by the doom and the gloom of the people around me. I believed that stuff. I let that stuff become part of my heart and soul. And it's hard work. It's hard work to be that one crab that crawls out of the bucket and has a great attitude about everything. Fortunately, nowadays, the vast majority of people that I surround myself with are that crab crawling out of the bucket. They're that person that sees hope in all things, that if any kind of technology crashes, there's bad things. If they're in a car accident, they can walk away and be happy they've got 10 fingers and 10 toes. If there's someone who loses their job, they're the kind of person that says, well, job's over, enough crying at my spilled milkshake, time to move on to the next big opportunity. That's the kind of person that I want to be, and that's the kind of person that I want to be around. That's why the whole point of this video is to show you why I have hope, and why you should have hope also, is that no matter how bad things are going to get, there's always a good outcome. And what I don't mean, and I definitely want to make sure this is not misinterpreted, what I don't mean is that you always have to be happy and that you always have to be in a good mood. I would never, ever expect that out of you. I get in shitty moods sometimes. I just, and those are the best times for me to go to the gym, by the way, but sometimes I believe 100% things do suck. And hopefully what I'm saying here is not, contradicting myself, but I 100% believe that there's a time for grieving and there's a time for things to be bad. I mean, it's just the reality. But what I don't want you to do is I don't want you to become someone who wallows in that sadness, who lives there, who looks forward to it, who loves being a victim. I'm sure all of you know someone who loves being a victim. I've got friends like that, and I know you've got friends like that. I mean, it's almost like when things go bad, their mindset and their attitude is, well, of course it's going to happen to me. Of course I got into a car accident. Of course I'm going to be late. Of course I broke a nail. Of course I'm going to spill coffee on my clothes. Of course the heel of my shoe is going to break. They expect that shitty life. They expect that sadness. And, all of us have bad things happen every single day. I mean, bad things have happened to me already, but they're minor things. And I don't want you to be that kind of person that wallows and thrives off of that and lives off that negative energy, because I could give you 100 reasons why it's bad, but to me, some of the most significant ones are the health ones, the two ones, the physiological things that it does to your body to live in that state of mind, and the mental things. I like to think that I am halfway decent mental health, and maybe that's me deluding myself. I mean, maybe I'm the person who's in horrible mental health. I'm in a state of denial. I'll never know. But I like to think that I have somewhat of a good mood and somewhat of a good attitude, but there are people out there who are dramatically affected by that negativity. And when you communicate with those people and you share something negative with them, if you're a strong person, that stuff can often bounce off of you, mentally. That can affect somebody at a deeper level. And I hope that's making sense. Is that something that you don't take very serious, other people can take very serious, and it can even lead people to, crying. There have been things before that I've shared in life that I thought were trivial. I mean, yeah, it was bad news, but it's actually dramatically affected people. And we just have to be careful of those things that we say, because I have learned that both attitudes, at least internally, both those attitudes, the good attitude and the bad attitude, are easily absorbed from people around me that are, the word weak isn't the right word, but people who will easily absorb the vibe of other people. There are people in the world who can easily pick up on vibes of other people, and they will absorb those attitudes. And I have to be careful, because I'm around those people oftentimes. And so, hopefully I'm not rambling here, but I just want you to know that hope-wise, there are great, amazing things going on in our world. There are great, amazing things going on in business. I cannot think of a better time to be an entrepreneur. So if you're someone who's thinking of starting a business and you hear about all the doom and gloom and about how your attitude has been, your business idea has been tried 1,000 times before and it failed, blow those people off and tell those people to go to hell, because there's always a unique way to do it, and there's always a way for you to start a business. If you're someone who thinks our country is in a shithole, not much has really changed over the years. We've had good leaders and we've had bad leaders. But the one thing I have, which is when it comes to having eternal hope is the fact that I know there's always good leadership. Yeah, you know what? We may have a shitty person at the top, but I have local leaders, and I have state level leaders, and I have county level leaders who make a big difference, and those are the people I like to deal with, interact with, and overall, I believe my country is still a great place to live. I mean, the leadership at the top doesn't really affect my day-to-day life and doesn't affect my mood. I don't care what the president tweets on any given day. It has no bearing on me whatsoever. I just made the assumption a while back he's a batshit crazy person. I blocked him on Twitter. I see nothing of his news directly, and you know what? Life is pretty good that way. So, you know, there's the business side, there's the political side, and the one thing I would encourage you to do on social media is obviously to seriously limit the amount of time you spend on social media. And if you find anybody that loves to share negative news on a consistent basis, don't feel any obligation to remain connected to that person. On social media, you can obviously unfollow the person, and I do that all the time, or I unfriend people in a heartbeat. I would unfriend a family member in a heartbeat if they became that family member that was nonstop, constantly negative. I have no obligation to be connected to anybody on social media. No obligation to be connected to my mom, my brothers, my sisters, any of those people. Social media is just that. It's a toy. I mean, it's a business tool. I use it for a business tool, but I have no need and no obligation to be connected to anybody on social media that's going to affect my mood and that's going to bring me down. So if some point in time, you know, you and I are not connected personally on social media, it's either because you unfollowed me because I did something negative, or because I unfollowed you or I unfriended you because you just did something that wasn't in line with my vibe. Anyways, as you go out this Thursday, what are we looking at? We are Thursday the 18th. July 18th, so we are 6 months and 18 days throughout the year. As you go out through the remaining 13 days of the month, and the remaining part of your Thursday, I would encourage you to kind of become that person who has a very strong filter on all the negative crap that's happening to you. Negative tech crap, negative social media crap, negative political crap. I mean, just hardcore filter that shit out, because most of it doesn't affect you. Some of it does, and some of it you have to pay attention to. But if you're going to do anything in your business as an entrepreneur, if you're going to do anything in life, if you're going to do amazing aspirational goals, you have to filter that crap out. Otherwise, it will drag you down, and when it drags you down, it'll drag it down your team and the people that work for you. The contrary side is also true. When you see the positive side and you see positive things, you can bring those positive things to your team, to your family members, and it will lift them up also. You have the 100% ability to control the mood of the people around you. Not that you'd ever use it for manipulative purposes, but like I said earlier, we kind of absorb that vibe and those feelings of the people around you. So I would always want to encourage you to give the best vibe possible so you have good people around you and you have a good team around you in life, and you lift up your team and your team lifts you up. I hope this has been useful. As always, please do me a favor, subscribe on YouTube, subscribe to the podcast. The podcast is available on Spotify, on iTunes, on iHeartRadio, so follow it and rate it everywhere if you would. I would really appreciate it. Also on Facebook, to subscribe it. And also, if you thought this was a good message, do me a favor and drop a like, a comment, and a share, which would really help us out here at Stop Doing Nothing. As always, on this 18th, have a great, great day. Go out there and give off that amazingly positive vibe and do good things. I love each and every one of you. Take care, and we'll chat soon.